Hey there everybody, Angel X Mikey here, and it's time for the tutorials you've all been waiting for, at least you animators. Flash to Toonboom for Dumb-Dums. Alright, today we're doing tutorial 1. This will be a 9-part tutorial series with a special 10th tutorial that will use, actually it's something a lot of people have asked me to do, the 10th one, and that will be a surprise at the end. Alright? So today we're doing tutorial 1. Today we're going to be covering the layout, the timeline, minor details of that timeline. The next tutorial will be covering more of the timeline. Preferences, editing your stuff to make it seem more like Flash. The tools bar, we're going to go through all the tools. I'm going to demonstrate on how they work compared to Flash. Drawing and render mode, we'll get to that later. And saving your document, and then after we do that, if I have anything else to add at that point, I will. So yeah, it's time for the boring episode, the intro episode that you're just like, but we probably already know all this, and it's just like, I know, but like, some of you don't. Anyway, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna start with Flash. We have Flash up here right now, and as you can see, it's the Flash we all know and love and everything. This is CS 5.5, and the Toonboom we'll be working in is Toonboom Animate Pro 2. So for now, you have this opening scene. It's gives you all the option. Most people will either go ActionScript 3.0 or 2.0, so we're going to open that. And you got your screen, you got your tools, you got your timeline, you got your colors, you got your library, your properties, you got your library, all that good stuff. You got your file, you got all your stuff here, publish settings, edit, cut and paste, and all that whatnot, and of course your work area. Now, let's go back. Let's go to Toonboom. And as you can see, this is my desktop, so I don't have it open yet. That's because Toonboom opens a little bit different than Flash. You just don't go right into it. It gives you a couple options beforehand. So we're going to open Toonboom. It comes up with a little square. Flash does it too. Oh, look how quick it comes up. If you've been working with Flash for a while, you know Flash takes forever to open. Toonboom does not. Unless you're opening up a big file, but it won't do the slow thing until we actually open up the file. It's gonna bring you here. Work offline. I always work offline. I don't connect to the database. I don't see any reason to. So we're just gonna work offline. So here is pretty much where all the ActionScript stuff and everything was in Flash. Show a little reference right there. Of course, Toonboom does not run on ActionScript. It's just, this is where all your recent projects were and blah 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 and whatever one you want. Here, these are custom templates, pretty much. This, all the sizes and whatnot that you want your cartoon to be. You've got 19 by 20 or 1920 by 1080p, 24 FPS. All these are set to pretty much. You got 360 by 270. You know, you got low quality and whatnot. If you want to create your own, if none of these suit your fancy, you can create your own. You can name it, and you can add the width and height and whatever frame rate you want, and that will be default for that one, and you can just click it. We're going to go with HDTV right here, and we're going to name the project already. Flash to Toonboom. Toonboom does not like spaces, so even if you can space it, but it'll put the little underscore for it. Open scene, if it's not here, you can go to open scene and search your computer for whatever you are. Toonboom generally makes its own folder. That way, it keeps all your projects in one thing. Unlike Flash, whereas Flash, you can just save it anywhere you want. There's already a predetermined place where your Toonboom animation projects will go, and that keeps things organized. Alright. And so we're going to go here, and we're going to press create. Alright, And we're already in the program. Alright. So, comparing it to Flash, let's do a little bit of side-by-side here. I'm sorry if you can't really see it. I'll make sure to zoom in on certain points to compare, because I know it's fitting two different programs on one screen can maybe distort it. I don't know. I haven't edited it yet. So if it looks good, great. If it don't, then I'll work with it. Alright, so we got the timeline right here. Alright. Generally the same. We got, you know, layer drawing, whatnot. We got the toolbar. We got all the toolbars. We got, let's see. They're pretty much in the same order, as you can see. Black arrow, selection tool, contour editors right here. Brush is a little bit further down on the Flash toolbar. Pencil. But they're all really around the same area. Got text tool, got paintbrush, got line tool with shape. You know, we got rectangle ellipse, ellipse tool, polyline. This is actually shape tween, pretty much. We got our hand, our zoom, and our rotate view. We got all those. We won't worry about these right now. We got our colors over here, same as the color wheel over on Flash. We got our library. We won't use this much in Toonboom. I know, that's insane. Like, how could I say that? That's one thing that's a lot different from Toonboom than the Flash. And they both have one, but you don't use it a lot unless you're working in a certain kind of way. Layer properties. This is properties of your layer. Not going to really use that either. You're not going to really use anything unless you actually want to use the X sheet. I will not go in, I'm going to warn you right now, in these tutorials, I will not cover the X sheet. It would probably be best to look up another tutorial that explains it. It's an old technique that pen and paper, traditional animators used to use for their stuff. Would it be useful to learn? Yes. Have I learned it? Not really. No. We got color over here again, and we got network, and we got tool properties. All right. Now, if you're following me like step by step, and your screen does not look like mine, that's okay. That's because I have it set to the animating format or template for my thing. It automatically saves your templates. Don't worry. And this might be familiar to you. So let's go back to Flash. Flash, this is classic mode. If you don't know, you can change your mode up here from animator to designer to essentials and so much more. But most animators will use the classic layout. This way, that's because a lot of animators move from Micromedia Flash 8 to these higher up programs, and this is how it generally is laid out. Okay. So if you want your Toonboom, back to Toonboom, if you want your Toonboom to look like Flash in the best way that you can, go with the animating. Okay. We got our network view. We'll cover this more when we're messing with effects, which should be in tutorial 6. It's quite the long ways down there, so don't worry about this until then. Tool properties. This is where you adjust, your smoothing for your brush and other sorts of things, depending on what thing you're using. We'll cover this. We'll cover that more in tutorial 3. We'll cover a little bit here, though. We will cover it here in a little bit. Up here, these are your transformation tools. Our transformation tools are usually back to Flash. Usually in Flash, we got our free transform tool, and then we have a bunch of little options down here. We got the distort tool. We got the rotate and skew scale. That's all these. As you can tell, they do look the same. We got translate, rotate, scale, maintain size, and skew and whatnot. We got our undo and our redo button. If you don't know what the shortcut is, we'll actually get to that too. We will actually set it so it's the same as Flash. We got our play button. We got our loop button. We got our sound button, sound scrubbing, information about where you are on the timeline, where you want the animation to start, where you want it to stop, what frame you're on, frames per second. You can adjust it right here. Flash, that's all right below the timeline. Okay. Now we're gonna go into preferences. We're going to we covered this. We covered the template. If you want it to look like this, you want to go to animating. Now, if you are one to just jump into Toonboom, it does its default is you do not have the same shortcuts as Flash. It is a little bit different. It is a little bit different, but we're going to set it so it is exactly like Flash. Well, not exactly. There's still some things off, but so we're going to go to Edit, and we're going to go to Preferences. All right. And the first thing you're going to want to do is go in this drop-down window. It'll probably be set to Toonboom Animate. This is for shortcuts and all that kind of good stuff. So undo, cut, copy, paste, blah, blah, blah. You want it to set to Adobe Flash. Okay? Adobe Flash, blah, 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 and you got all your stuff. All right? And if you want to look at what they are now, all the shortcuts are going to be all in here, all organized for you to check out. General, make sure automatically save workspace so this stays as default. Okay? Alright. Color recovery, you're going to want to keep this checked. This is if you, say you bring in a SWF file. Yes, you can import SWFs. It's not the cleanest process in the world. I will tell you this right now. But we'll cover that later in Tutorial 5. Tutorial 5 will cover that. Toonboom runs on palettes. And if you don't have the palettes, it won't read the color. But it will go in and add those colors for you with color recovery. And it's spot on, so you don't have to worry about that. Current view border. So whenever you're in this, or whenever you're in the workspace, it'll be highlighted with a color, okay? It'll be highlighted with a color, and you're just like, okay, that's where I'm working. If it will highlight the timeline, it will highlight the properties, it will highlight any window you're in, okay? And you can just change the colors to whatever you want. They're a little important just because sometimes you can get lost in whatever one you're in, and you're like, why can't I draw in this? And it's like, oh, I have that selected. Nothing else important in here. Camera, you don't need anything here. Network, you don't need anything here. Exposure sheet, you don't need it here. Drawing, okay? Drawing. This is where we're gonna edit our onion skin tool. Now, if you love, or if you really like how Flash does its onion skin, and let's go back to Flash over here real quick. Just in case you don't know what it is, even though I said I did say this is for people that do know Flash. That's the onion skin tool in Flash. It has everything black, or how you drew it, all the colors match and whatnot. In that regard. So if you want it like that, you can go normal. Okay, normal, and it'll put like that. It'll put just like that we have it in Flash. Or you can go outline only, or you can experiment with enable shade. Outline only, I can pretty much show it here. They do have it in Flash too, as you can see. You got it, just outlines everything. It's a little bit more effective in Toonboom though, considering they change the color depending on where it is in the timeline. So like if it's before the frame, it'll be red, and if it's after the frame you're working on, it'll be green. And they're a lot easier to see and everything, but you can always mess with it whenever you want. That's up to you. But that's how you do it. Go into preferences, edit, preferences, drawing, and then outline only, or normal, or enable shade, or however you want it. I personally like outline. Template, timeline, OpenGL, render, advanced. You don't need any of that. So we're done here. They're your preferences. If you want it to be like Flash, that's all the preferences you need. So you're gonna press OK. Let's talk about the tools now. All right. So we got our tools now, and we're gonna draw something real quick so we can experiment with our tools. All right. And as you can see, I have this selected, right? I have my my workspace selected, and I'm just gonna draw something easy. Let's okay, so we got our little egg now, all right? And we're going to use him to experiment, all right? And yeah, look at him, so cute. All right. So we're going to go here. We're going to go to Selection Tool first. Yes, this is the Selection Tool. Let's go back to Flash. Selection Tool is right here, all right? What do we do with the Selection Tool? Well, you drag, you drop, you select. Oh my goodness. How awesome is that? All right. So there's quite a bit of difference in Toonboom. So we're going to highlight this. All right. There we go. It's highlighted. But why is it different? I'll show you why it's different. In Flash, if I select this, it's going to select the whole thing. Everything that's connected and that's black, it will select. It selects common elements. Toonboom, on the other hand, works quite different. Toonboom draws everything as an individual drawing. Each stroke, each color, everything is an individual drawing. That's how you use a technique I call recycling lines, or line recycling, TM. Just kidding, not TM. But I came up with that term not too long ago, actually, probably about a month ago. I think, and we'll get to that later. Tutorial 4, we'll be covering that, and that'll be a special session where I'll go in and I'll show you how to do this. Or I'll show you how to do it. But for now, as you can see, oh look, it selected all of it. Why did it select all of it? Because I drew in one full thing. I didn't stop. But see? So we're going to zoom in here. And as you can see, all three of these are separate strokes. And it takes them, and you can move them separately. You can copy and paste them, whatever you want to do. Now, the selection tool, much like Flash, if it's on multiple, let's go back to Flash real quick. If it's on multiple frames, let's use a purple. Okay, we're going to draw a cross through that. And we take this, and we select this one, and we select this one. It's separate. But if we run the square, it's going to select both of them. Same thing with here. Let's go back to Toonboom. And we're going to draw, let's use a different color. Let's draw a shine on it. Nice and shiny. Alright. Okay. So, we got 2 layers. And you're like, why are they fading in and out? And I'll go over that next. But, for now, if we select this, oh look, it came back. If we select this and we select that, it's going to select anything you kind of roam over, right? And of course, same thing with Flash. If you lock one of the layers, you can just select one if you want. Same thing here. Your lock is right here. You know, right there. We'll cover that later. And, you know, if you lock it, it'll only select what you want. Now, there's a sub-tool to this, the cutter tool. Now, this will only work on the layer that you're currently on. And this one does not select the whole line. This selects whatever you want to highlight. This again is called the cutter tool. Or the lasso tool. Pretty much that's what it is. It's the lasso tool. It's the lasso tool from Flash. If you go Flash, here we go, lasso tool. Boom. You know, same thing. You're not going to use reposition all drawings. At least I haven't since I've had Toon Boom. If I ever run into it and I find it useful, I might do a tutorial in the future, but not now. So we're going to move on to the next one. And this is in Flash. It's actually the sub-selection tool. And it does the same thing. Except in Toon Boom, let's go back to Toon Boom, it's called the contour editor. It's the exact same thing. Okay? It's the exact same thing, alright? It's a contour editor. You want thick lines and stuff like that, then you can edit it with the contour editor. We got the smooth editor. Now this is useful because you can just go over and it smooths it. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Look at that. See? And you can just keep, messing it until you like it. Yep. And that's all that does. Alright. And then we got perspective. And we have this in Flash. If you go here and you get this and you select something, alright, we got all these different tools here. We got the rotate and skew, we got the scale, and we got the distort. And this is pretty much, perspective view in Toon Boom. And that's how you do it here. You can just select it. Select it like you're using the selector up at top, right here. The selection tool. And you just move it. Yep. And there you go. Same thing. And then you got the edit gradient and texture tool. That's where you edit your gradients. So we're gonna, don't mind this part, because we're gonna get into this later. Alright, so we got our gradient, and we're gonna edit that gradient. Same way we do in Flash, but we'll cover this more in a future tutorial. Alright. And then we got the brush tool, of course. Of course, we've been drawing. Works the same way as in Flash. Flash, you got it right here. It's down here. Boom, boom, boom. Except, as you can see, when Flash does it, even though you're smoothing, my smoothing's like way off right now. But generally, we're usually right around 40. And as you can see, there's like really bumpiness. Now look at this look at this. Look how nicely it smooths out your lines. It's insane. Alright. And we'll get into that, how to do that later. Pencil tool. Pencil tool is not as useful as it is in Flash. Let's go to Flash. Flash, it's usually used for shading like this. If you want this one color and the dark, and then this a darker color, then you would select this. Then you select this and get rid of the line, and then you have a shade. That's not how it works in Toon Boom. You can draw with it and whatnot, but it will stay there. You can't just delete it unless you go in and select it individually. But if you did the shading, it would leave actually a white space, and we don't want that. But we'll go into that later. That will be covered on coloring and shadows in tutorial 3. We got the text tool. It's a text tool. It's a text tool. You should know what the text tool is. Eraser. It works the same way. You change the size though of it over here with your brushes, okay? And we'll cover that too. Paint bucket. You got a bunch of different ones, but generally you're just gonna use the normal paint bucket. You got your line tool. You got your rectangle tool, make rectangles. Ellipse tool for circles, and polyline tool for whatever weird shapes. Eyedropper tool. The one on the timeline isn't as useful as the one you're gonna be using actually in here, and we'll get to that again with color. This is actually Shape Tween. That will be covered in Tutorial 4. Tutorial 4, we cover tweens, and here we go. We have to move stuff around since we don't have sidebars, and you've probably seen me use that several times. And then we have the zoom, and we have the rotate view. Rotate your canvas however you want. If you just can't get that angle right and you just want to twist this thing, it won't mess up the final rendition. It's just there for your convenience. Alright? That's it for the tools. If you're like, well, what? I mean, transform tools and stuff like that. We'll actually get more into that. Your transformation tools are all going to be right up here. But we actually are not going to get into that until we start working with tweens, because those are very essential in Toonboom. Now we're going to go on to drawing and render mode. So, what we're in right now is drawing mode, where you can do your animation. You have all these tools. Let's cover the light box right now. So in drawing mode, you have a light box. What's a light box? What it does is, original light box is actually used for like doing frame by frame on traditional pen and paper. It's just a light. It's like a box that has a light that shines through and a screen, and then you put like the paper there. You do your first frame, and you put the other paper on top of that, and then move it, you know, just like the onion. It's the onion skin. Nowadays, the light box in Toonboom is a little bit different like that. Flash does not have this. You have to do it manually by messing with the alpha and opacity of your drawings in Flash and on different layers, and there's no reason for that with this. What it does is, whatever active layer you're on, it'll highlight that, it'll make it clear like you would see it in the final product, and it dims everything else. That way you can focus on that frame alone. Alright? Plain and simple, it makes things a lot easier. But whenever you go to render mode, it cleans everything up, it feathers everything out, makes it look a lot better. And you're wondering why, well, now it's black, I can't see shit, and you're right. So what are we going to do about that? So in drawing mode, we're going to go plus sign here, and we're just going to add a color card. Alright? And that just adds a background. And if you're working with backgrounds, you don't need a color card. And now we can see our beautiful little egg. As you can see, everything looks really smooth for like how fast I did it. You can it's a little bit easier to see all my mistakes with overlapping and whatnot. But this is how it will look in your final product, all feathered and everything. You go right over here, and then there's drawing mode. There's not much use for this that I've found. It's just here. If I find more information on it, I'll cover it. But this is essentially the same thing as Flash. Let's go back to Flash over here, alright? And we're gonna delete all this. We don't need this right now. So, in Flash, in our workspace, which we call the camera view in Toonboom, this is our camera, right? Our workspace, this is our camera. Anything in this white space will show up in the animation. Unless you're using a VCam. I don't know how many of you know about VCams, but unless you're using a VCam, this is your camera. Okay? Anything in this gray space will not be shown. So that's how you make things come in and out and however you want. Toonboom has this too. So let's go back to Toonboom. And as you see, we have this here. Alright? And we're going to zoom out just a little bit. We're going to zoom back out. And this is our camera. This little border right here is our camera. Yay! And you're probably thinking, well, I can't really tell the borders. I mean, I can, but everything's white. How am I supposed to distinguish? Can I zoom? Can I add the same elements like in Flash and do it that way? Yes, you can. You can tween in backgrounds, move stuff slower and whatnot into frame, move things in and out of frame. No problem. It's the exact same way as Flash. This is your camera. The thing is about Toonboom is you can move your camera just like a VCam. If you don't know what a VCam is, I'm sorry, but you can move it. And that's what the transformation tool is. Yay! See? Oh, look. And this is your camera. Alright? So this is your camera view, and it's just like in Flash. It's just you have a little bit more room. And we'll cover the camera and camera movement because there's so many cool things you can do with it in a later one. But for now, there's that. Okay, so yeah, that's the same thing as the workspace in Flash. And now I think you're starting to get an idea. It's like, oh, well, it's a lot like Flash. You just need to know where everything is and how to set it up. Yes. Yes, it is. It is a lot like Flash. But there's a lot of differences. It doesn't crash as much, and it makes things a lot simpler for you. Even though I know the interface is intimidating, but you will get through it. And this is what these tutorials will be for. So, and then saving, it's save as, same thing, same shortcut, same everything. Exporting, I'm going to cover another one, but you don't have to go through Swivel. You don't have to export as a SWF. I advise against it. You can export OpenGL frames, separate frames and everything to import to Photoshop and make your GIFs. Or you can just export it as your finished movie. And then put it into Vegas or Adobe Premiere and edit it however you want to add those extra effects, or Adobe After Effects. That covers the basics, actually. That's it for tutorial 1, and I hope this was educational for y'all. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're not subscribed. I do a bunch of parodies. I'll put them up on the screen like boom, 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 boom. That'll be 4 of them. If I can fit them on there, I'm sure I can. And I'll see you in the next tutorial. Or you'll hear me in the next tutorial, however you want to take that. But thank you for watching. Good day, or good night, or good morning.